welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Whenever and wherever here is for you today, I'm glad you are practicing. When you're ready, this is a Yin Yoga practice tonight, so you might want to have some props handy. If you're listening to the recording and you haven't already picked out which one of the longer tracks you want to use, you might want to pause here and kind of check those out for a moment. And then if you're using the playlist that has today's date on it, so it's 08/02/2024, you're either going to start with track 1, track 8, or track 9 or track 10. So once you've decided if you want to use track 1 as your beginning, track 8, or track 10, go ahead and start your music. And then once you have your music ready, once you have your music going, I'm going to suggest that you start on your back. And maybe you decide you want to put your legs up the wall or legs on a chair or a table or a sofa. You could do that. Or you might decide you want to lie down on your back, put a rolled up towel or blanket underneath your thighs. Remember, if you're putting your heels on a chair, you could have your hips, knees, and ankles at 90 degrees, but you could also angle your body a little bit further away so that you have more of an incline. You could decide you want to put yourself on an incline so your head's above your heart above your belly, or if you're pregnant, above baby and belly. Or maybe you decide you don't want to lie down yet. But either way, take a moment to make sure your legs are in a position that's comfortable for your low back and hips, and that your arms are in a position that's comfortable for your neck and shoulders. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And then let's set a group intention. May all of us together be protected. May all of us together be nourished. May we work together with great energy. May our study together be brilliant and effective. May we not hate or dispute with one another. May there be peace within us, peace all around us, peace to and from everything and everyone we encounter. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Deep open mouth sigh. Deep breath in through your nose. Deep sigh out. Take the deepest breath you've taken all day. Open your mouth and sigh it out. And then as you inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose, bring your awareness to what comes up for you, like maybe the definition, maybe the meaning, maybe the essence of a word like courage. Or what about a word like artist? How about integrity, nobility, peace, integration, impossible? What do those words mean to you? How do those words feel to you? How do those words resonate with you every time you inhale, every time you exhale? I'm going to start with that last word, impossible, because the very beginning of August for the last few years, I have focused on impossible people. People who have done things that others said were impossible. People that did things that hadn't ever been done before. Some of this idea was inspired by a 2004 Adidas ad, a campaign that was written by Amy Lito with a tagline that's credited to Boyd Cornier. Although these words are often attributed to Muhammad Ali because he was the athlete in the ad. The ad said, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. Take a moment to go a little deeper into what you think of as being impossible. On your next inhale, begin your Ujjayi Pranayama, breath of victory. Bring a slight constriction to the back of your throat as you inhale through your nose, maintaining that constriction as you exhale through your nose, creating an audible and expansive breath, an oceanic and heat-building breath, a detoxifying breath, a breath that brings your awareness to how your understanding, your experience with all of those words, including the word impossible, comes from your previous experience. Everything that's happened to you before this moment informs your understanding in this present moment. Every time we inhale, every time you exhale. If you have your legs elevated up on a wall or up on a table or a chair, you might bend your knees out to the side for a moment, feet together like a prayer, knees open up in that sleeping butterfly. Dr. Bo Lotto is a neuroscientist who talks about, he's the head of the Lab of Misfits, and he talks about how our ideas about what is possible is based on previous experience. He calls that our field of possibility, our space of possibility. In a 2017 Big Think video entitled The Neuroscience of Creativity, Perception, and Confirmation Bias, he said, this also then leads to the idea of whether or not the brain ever does big jumps, or does it only ever do small steps? And the answer is that the brain only ever does small steps. I can only get from here to the other side of the room by passing through the space in between. I can't teleport myself to the other side, right? Similarly, your brain can only ever make small steps in its ideas. So whenever you're in a moment, it can only actually shift itself to the next most likely possible. And the next and most likely possible is determined by its assumptions. We call it the space of possibility, right? You can't do just anything. Some things are just impossible for you in terms of your perception or in terms of your conception of the world. What's possible is based on your history, based on his history and the history of those around him, especially his stepfather, James Baldwin, who was born today in Harlem in 1924, wanted to do things that were impossible. He was a gay Black man who wanted to be a writer, wanted to be an author. And that just seemed impossible, especially here in the United States. In an interview that was printed in the 1984 Paris Review, he said, given the conditions in this country, to be a Black writer was impossible. When I was young, people thought you were not so much wicked as sick. They gave up on you. My father didn't think it was possible. He thought I'd get killed, get murdered. He said I was contesting the white man's definitions, which was right. As we move through this practice, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about James Baldwin, a little bit more about his heart and how he lived with his whole heart, which is the original definition of courage. As we move through this practice, I'm also going to tell you a little bit about Yin Yoga, a little bit about why we're going to do the practice, why we're doing the practice we're doing tonight, a little bit about the heart. As we move through this practice, I'll also be offering prenatal variations as well as modifications if you want to skip the arm balancing. And remember that child's pose, balasana, is your modification for every pose. You can go there at any time. Take a deep breath in, deeper breath out, and join the sequence when you're ready. Next time you inhale, bring your knees together. If you have your legs elevated, you might need to bring your feet down to move over, or you could just roll over. Prenatal variation is to roll to the left. Everyone else, you can roll over to whichever side you have more space. If you're pregnant and you have more space on the right, you can roll over and then sit up. But just wherever you are, take a moment to be here. Take a moment to breathe here. And then use the strength of your arms to press up to a comfortable seated position. Eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. You could come into half lotus, full lotus, or no lotus. If there's compression in your low back and hips, sit up on top of something. If you have any pain or discomfort, you could come into a kneeling pose like hero's pose, knees together, feet apart, sitting on the floor or prop between your ankles, or thunderbolt, knees and feet the same distance apart, toes curled under, sitting on your heels or a prop between your heels. Even an auspicious pose, feet together, knees apart, sitting on your soles or a prop between your soles. Either way, bring your hands together at heart center or one hand at your heart, one hand at your belly, and bring your awareness to your goal, your desire, your reason for being on the mat today. What's something that you haven't done yet or something that you want to continue doing? What's something you want to overcome? And then take a moment to bring your awareness to someone other than yourself, someone you'd like to energetically support as we move through this practice. Maybe you bring your awareness to one of your naysayers, one of those people who says that something you're already doing is impossible. Maybe you bring your awareness to someone who inspires you to be an impossible person. You could bring your awareness to someone you've never met, someone you will never meet, maybe even someone you inspire. But either way, offer up your efforts as a loving and compassionate dedication. So we all have more love in our lives with no strings attached. Let's unify the breath. Exhale all your air out. Take the deepest breath you've taken all day. Open your mouth and sigh it out. And then just let your breath flow in through your nose and out through your nose. Fill up as you inhale. Empty out completely as you exhale. Next time you inhale, blink your eyes open. As you exhale, relax your arms down, hug your knees into your armpits, give them a little squeeze. If you're skipping the arm balancing, you could just come back into a seated position. If you started cross-legged, you're going back into a cross-legged position, change the cross of your legs. Everyone else come into your tabletop with hands and knees to the mat or forearms and knees to the mat. If you're on your forearms, take a moment to cross your arms. Make sure you can grab opposite bicep with opposite hand, and then bring your hands out in front. So tabletops, you want shoulders over elbows, elbows over wrists, or wrists in front of the elbows, hips over your knees. As you exhale, gaze between your knees. Make sure your ankles are active, big toes parallel to each other. And then inhale to cow pose. Lift your heart, lift your hips, belly drops down. As you exhale, you can round your spine like a hollowing cat or sink your hips to your heels. Same thing when you're seated. Extend your spine as you inhale, which is what your spine already wants to do. As you exhale, you can flex, maybe fold. And then start to move into a marauding bear. Maybe you're the bear that's chasing something or someone. Maybe you're being chased by the bear. You could stretch out an arm, stretch out a leg. You could shift your upper body over to one side and then the other side, or do those leaning tables where one elbow comes down as you gaze over the opposite shoulder. But whatever you do on one side, do something similar or complementary on the other side. Remember, Yin Yoga is based on traditional Chinese medicine, the idea that our vitality, the energy for our organs, for our systems, is located in the meridians, which are housed in the deep tissue, the fascia, the connective tissue. Places that we don't stretch, but we can address. We can address them through deep tissue massage or acupuncture or acupressure, something like yamana body rolling or foam rolling, or holding certain poses for 3 to 5 minutes. We break up the stillness with a little movement to get things moving here. Move through one more full cycle of breath. And then once you've balanced out your movement, take an extra couple of breaths if you need to. We're going to go settle into a child's pose. And this is going to be or a puppy dog. So the child's pose, you want to bring your big toes to touch behind you. Spread your knees as wide as you feel comfortable. Sink your hips to your heels. And then bring your forehead down, your forehead and nose to the mat. So if you get in that position and you feel like you need just a little bit of extra support, you could take a vinyasa puppy dog here where your knees and your feet are the same distance apart with your toes curled under. Sink your hips to your heels, forehead and nose touch the mat. If you need to put a rolled up towel or blanket between your thighs or shins, you could do that. You could sit on top of a prop here. You could put cushion under your knees here. If none of those work for you, you could take a cross-legged position or a wide-legged position with a table or a chair in front of you and then lean over that table or chair. Wherever you are, just take a moment to relax here for a moment. Release here for a moment. Make sure that you can be comfortable, especially in your knees, your back, and your belly here for a moment. And then setting up for your quarter dog. Next time you exhale, you're going to bend your right forearm bend your right elbow so the right forearm is parallel to the short edge of your mat on the floor or the prop over your head, or actually you can move that arm under your head. Either way, turn your head to the left so your right cheek is on the mat or the prop. And then just take a moment to be here. Relax, release, and rest here. Breathe here. And notice how you feel here. We're coming up on the very end of the season on the traditional Chinese calendar, the agricultural calendar, that is great heat. It is great heat or major heat. And during this time of year, people and related to traditional Chinese medicine treat winter disease in the summer. Another thing that people do this time of year is to focus on how heat affects the mind body and what people can do to boost their health and longevity. You can stay in your quarter dog, or next time you exhale, thread that right arm underneath your left armpit. You're still going to be gazing to the left, but from the collarbone, you're going to get that right arm underneath that left armpit. You're going to rotate that right palm up, still gazing to the left. Prenatal variation is to stretch the left leg out like a T, left toes pointed straight ahead. You could do that even if you're not pregnant. So this time of year, people focus on clearing heat and excessive dampness and stagnation from the body, as well as clearing and nourishing the heart. The heart meridians is paired with small intestine meridian. Those are in the arms. Here you can keep your left arm stretched on the floor over your head. You could use your left arm as a pillow, or you could do that. You can bring your left hand behind your back. And just take a moment to let your breath get a little richer, get a little deeper. Heart meridian is the yin part of the pair. It begins at the inside of the armpit and runs along the front inside edge of the arm to the pinky finger. It's paired with small intestine meridian, that's the yang meridian, which runs along the back inside edge of the arm, starting with the pinky finger, zigzagging across the shoulder and up the side of the neck to the outer corner of the eye, just in front of the ear. These meridians are associated with fire, summer, midday, which is sometimes the hottest day of the year, the hottest part of the day, red with a little hint of blue, and joy when the meridians are in balance versus anxiety when they are out of balance. Next time you exhale, release your bind, release your twist as you inhale, come back into your child's pose, your puppy dog, your seated forward fold. And just take a moment to be here. Take a moment to breathe here. And then you're going to exhale, bend your left elbow so the left forearm is parallel to the short edge of your mat, and turn your head to the right. And just take a moment to be here. Take a moment to breathe here. In addition to treating winter disease in the summer, this is a time when people focus on yang within yin. You can think of it as action within the inaction. A reminder that if you look at the traditional yin yang symbol, each side has a little tiny dot representing the opposite energy. Take a moment to let your body relax, release, and rest. And breathe. When it comes to that idea of treating winter disease in the summer, this is about taking preventative measures against ailments like bronchitis, bronchial asthma, nasal sinus allergies, and other cold or winter ailments. All ailments that are related to the lungs, the meridians of which, along with large intestine meridians, are also in the arms. Preventative care may include a customized herbal treatment, acupuncture, and/or treatment whereby herbal patches are placed on specific meridian points. But also being mindful about what we eat and drink. That's another way to take care of our mind, body, vitality. Just like these meridians are associated with different times of year, different parts of the day, different parts of the body, they're also associated with different emotions. As I mentioned, joy and anxiety. When it comes to the lung and large intestine meridians, it's also associated with grief and acceptance. You can stay in your quarter dog, or next time you exhale, thread that left arm underneath your right armpit, still gazing to the right, but here you want to rotate that right palm up, not from the wrist, but from the collarbone. You can keep your right arm on the floor over your head or bring it behind your back. Heart and small intestine meridian, as well as lung and large intestine meridians, are also associated with this feeling of awe in the present moment, like accepting and having awe in the present moment, which can be really hard sometimes. It can be really hard because of so many external factors. In particular, if you were growing up in the United States in the 1920s and the 30s, if you were a Black man and you were also gay, there could be a lot of things that would create anxiety. Could be a lot of things in the world that would create a lot of grief, right? Over lost dreams, or like that dream deferred that Langston Hughes talked about. Take a moment to let your breath get a little richer, get a little deeper. And James Baldwin had to deal with all of those things, right? He had to deal with the history of the United States and what was going on in the United States while he was growing up. And there were the opinions of his stepfather, who he referred to as his father, David Baldwin. His stepfather's opinion of how the world would view him, how the world actually viewed him, and his own ideas about what was possible or even what was necessary. Next time you exhale, unravel, come back into your child's pose, your puppy dog, or your seated forward fold as you inhale. Shoulders down your back. And then prenatal variation is either going to be cow with a little, or cow or sphinx with a cushion under your hips and thighs. Everyone else, as you inhale, drag your body forward, come into your sphinx pose. You want your legs stretched out behind you, elbows in front of your chest so you can look down your sphinx nose without turning your head. Shoulders down your back. If you have a lot of upper body kyphosis, if you're developing a dowager's hunch or you've been hunched over a desk all day, you might walk your elbows forward, maybe even lift them up on top of something, and then hold your head up, maybe at the temples, maybe at the jaw. But either way, find that place where your bones are in a position to hold your body up, and then let the muscle and the skin melt away from the bones. And breathe into the bones. And breathe into the heart. James Baldwin spent the ages 14 to 17 following in his father's footsteps into the ministry. And then when his father, his stepfather, David Baldwin, died, he took a giant leap. He said, those were 3 years preaching, which probably turned me to writing. And leaping into writing wasn't his only leap. He also leapt across the pond to Paris, France. And he did that twice. Even as his writing challenged Western society's conceptions about race and class and gender and sexuality. His essays, novels, and plays include Giovanni's Room, Notes of a Native Son, The Fire Next Time, If Beale Street Could Talk, which was turned into a movie, the sound part of the soundtrack of which is on the playlist, and the unfinished manuscript, Remember This House, which was adapted to create the 2016 Academy Award nominated documentary, I Am Not Your Negro. The first time Mr. Baldwin went to Paris, he had $40 and not a lick of French. He could not speak the language. He was 24 years old, coming to grips with his sexuality, and escaping what he viewed, what he had witnessed, was a death sentence at the hands of American society. In that 1984 Paris Review interview, he said, not so metaphorically, looking for a place to live, looking for a job, you begin to doubt your judgment. You begin to doubt everything. You become imprecise. And that's when you're beginning to go under. You've been beaten and it's been deliberate. The whole society has decided to make you nothing. And they don't even know they're doing it. Take a moment to make your breath a little richer, a little deeper. Next time you exhale, prenatal variation is to press back into a tabletop and then do some hip circles, dropping your hips down on one side and then coming back up as you inhale on the other side. Everyone else, you can take the hip circles or you can exhale, lower your body down, cross your arms so you can rest your forehead on your arms. And then as you exhale, bend your knees and windshield wiper your shins. Maybe you drop both legs over to one side as you exhale, come back to center, and then drop them on the other side as you exhale. Or you could exhale, open your legs up wide, and then inhale, bring your legs together, or inhale the legs apart and then bring them together like fancy windshield wiper. It's up to you what you do. Just create that little bit of movement to break up the stillness. If you're doing the hip circles, make sure you take your hip circles in the other direction. So now exhaling down by one ankle and then coming up on the other side as you inhale. So we're going to get ready for a Yin Yoga puppy dog, which is actually quite young. It's quite active. If you want a little bit less hinging at the hips, you could use a chair or a table or a sofa or something here and do that variation, that puppy dog on the wall, or sorry, on the prop that we did last month, where you put your elbows on the prop and then let your body lean forward. Everyone else, you're going to come to tabletop with hands and knees to the mat or forearms and knees to the mat. You might need a little bit of space in front of you so you can walk your body back a little bit. As you exhale, you're going to curl your toes under. Inhale to cow pose. Again, exhale with the toes curled under. And then inhale, walk your arms forward, keeping the hips over the knees until you can't walk your arms any further forward. So the toes curled under gives you a little bit more stability. And then once you've walked your arms as far forward as possible with the hips still over the knees, then you let your heart melt down, your torso melt down. Remember, Yin Yoga puppy dog is also known as heart melting pose. So you might feel this through your belly. You might feel this through your back, through your lats, through the side of your body, through your arms. You even have the option, if you are in that Yin Yoga puppy dog, to bend your elbows, bring the hands back behind your ears, back behind your head. From Paris, James Baldwin was able to not only gain perspective about his experiences of being Black in America and of being Black and gay in America, but also offer those experiences back to the United States in the form of a literary mirror. He said that he wanted to see himself and be seen as more than merely a Negro or merely a Negro writer. In his late 30s, early 40s, he briefly returned to the United States and physically participated in the civil rights movement and the gay liberation movement that he had helped from Paris literally inspire. You're not feeling the back bend here. You need a little bit more. You can always look up. If you need a little bit less, you could put your head on a prop. He became friends with Langston Hughes, who I mentioned before, as well as with Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Lorraine Hansberry, Nikki Giovanni, Nina Simone. In fact, he and Langston Hughes convinced Nina Simone to become more active, or to actually become active in the civil rights movement. He worked with doctors Kenneth and Mamie Clark, whose research served as part of the foundation for their Brown versus Board of Education lawsuit, the class action lawsuit. He was also friends with Lena Horne and worked with Lena Horne as well as with Lorraine Hansberry to discuss the importance of civil rights legislation with then President John F. Kennedy. Make your breath a little richer, a little deeper. And then you're going to have some options here. You can either use an exhale to press it back into that vinyasa child's pose or puppy dog, or you can inhale and slide forward into your Sphinx pose again. Again, prenatal variation for that Sphinx pose is to have a little cushion under your hips and thighs. And just take a moment to be here. Take a moment to breathe here. Of course, he wasn't only friends with Black artists and activists. He worked with his childhood friend Richard Avedon, marched with Marlon Brando and Charlton Heston. He collaborated with Margaret Mead and Sol Stein. We also knew Rip Torn and Jean-Paul Sartre and Dorothea Tanning. In fact, if you were to read his biography or autobiography, it's like a who's who of activism and artistry in the 20th century. But you don't have to go to his biography or autobiography to find all kinds of details about his life. You could get your hands on the over 1,800 pages of documents compiled by the FBI. That'd be interesting read. Next time you exhale, press back, lift your body up. You can turn your body to the left or to the right and stretch your legs out as wide as they'll go. So you're going to sit upright and then stretch your legs out. And here you're going to want a prop. I'm going to suggest starting with the prop inside of your right thigh. So once you get your legs stretched out wide, get that prop inside of your right thigh. And then bring your right hand down on the floor or on the prop, inside or outside of your right leg. And as you inhale, you're going to stretch your left arm up and exhale, reach it over. So if you have some low back issues, especially if they're disc related, you're probably just going to stay right here. Everyone else, bring your right elbow on top of the prop inside of your right leg. Bend your right elbow and hold onto your head. And then you can bend your left elbow, bring that left hand behind your head and just rotate your body up. See how that feels for a moment. If your back is healthy and you feel like you just want a little bit more of what you might consider a stretch, you could move the prop and your right elbow to the outside of your right leg. And then once you have your body set up where you want it, you could let that left arm relax on your head, or you can keep it extended but still resting on your head. Keep your heart open and lifted. For a little over a decade, the FBI collected nearly 2,000 pages worth of documents on a man that many Americans may not realize helped to convince President Kennedy to send federal troops to defend the civil rights activists that were marching from Selma to Montgomery. And yes, it's true. That's, almost 2,000 pages is not nearly the 17,000 pages that were compiled on Martin Luther King Jr. And that's not even including the wiretap documents. But if you want a little perspective in terms of other people, the FBI collected 276 pages on authors like Richard Wright, 110 pages on authors like Truman Capote and Henry Miller. And then the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, showed a particular interest in Mr. Baldwin and actually worked with agents to figure out ways that they could ban his 1962 novel, Another Country. Director Hoover was concerned about the fact that James Baldwin had started the novel while living in Greenwich Village and then continued as he moved back to Paris and then back to the States again before ultimately finishing the book in Istanbul, Turkey. He was concerned about the novel's depictions of bisexuality, interracial relationships, and extramarital affairs. But it's just as likely that J. Edgar Hoover was concerned about James Baldwin's persistent efforts to depict a deep, abiding, almost divine brotherly love, a universal experience of grace and growth that would make more things possible for more people. Whatever his objections were, the report of the Justice Department's General Crimes Section concluded, and I quote, that the book contains literary merit and may be of value to students of psychology and social behavior. As you inhale, push down to lift your body up. Take a moment just to be here. Take a moment just to breathe here. If you need to windshield wiper your legs a little bit, you could lean back on your hands or your arms and windshield wiper your legs a little bit. And then go ahead and sit up. Move your props to the inside of your left leg. So starting with that prop on the inside of the left leg. Bring your left hand down to the floor or prop. And as you inhale, stretch your right arm up and over, shoulders down your back. So again, if you're having low back issues, especially if they're disc related, you're going to stay here. Everyone else, you have the option as you exhale to bend your left elbow, hold on to your head here. And then as you exhale, bend your right elbow, right hand behind your head. You use your body to rotate that right elbow up. Notice how that feels. Maybe stretch the right arm out over your head. See how that feels. If you want what you might consider to be a deeper stretch, you just want more information, more sensation, you could move that prop and your left elbow to the outside of your left thigh. And this goes through the steps again, holding onto your head with your elbows bent, stretching that right arm out, see how that feels. And then no matter which variation, you can let your right arm rest on your head, maybe with the elbow bent, maybe with the elbow extended. In another country, James Baldwin wrote, the occurrence of an event is not the same thing as knowing what it is that one has lived through. So the occurrence of an event is not the same thing as knowing what it is that one has lived through. Most people had not lived, nor could it, for that matter, be said that they had died through any of their terrible events. They had simply been stunned by the hammer. They passed their lives thereafter in a kind of limbo of denied and unexamined pain. The great question that faced him this morning was whether or not he had ever really been present in his life. And of course, we must be present in our life. We must be present with all the things that come up for us, all the different sensations, all the different bits of information, all the emotion. Remember, in the Eastern philosophies like yoga, like Taoism, like Buddhism, every emotion is just a manifestation of energy. I mentioned the idea of grief being the energy of the lung and large intestine meridian being out of balance. That's not to say that there is something wrong with experiencing grief. Obviously, there's going to be situations where we experience grief. James Baldwin experienced grief and anger and horror when so many of his friends who were leaders of the civil rights movement were killed. That's when he made that second leap back to Paris. There's a leap made out of fear and the basic desire to survive. That anger, that grief, that horror, that disappointment is on full display in later works like If Beale Street Could Talk, Just Above My Head, and the 1985 nonfiction book Evidence of Things Not Seen. It was about the Atlanta child murders. Yet until his dying day, he wrote about love and hope, even using a portion of the Epistle to the Hebrews from the Christian New Testament as the title of that book, Evidence of Things Not Seen. Next time you inhale, push down, lift your body up. As you exhale, you can keep your legs extended, or you can bend your elbows, lean back on your hands or your forearms, or all the way down to your back, and just gently, mindfully windshield wiper your legs. And then go ahead and lie down on your back. If you are pregnant, prenatal option is going to involve having a little cushion so that when you roll to your left side, you have that cushion under your left hip and thigh. Everyone else, you can just lie down flat on your belly or flat on your back for a moment. If even with the cushion being on your back is not going to work for you, you can sit up, take a cross-legged position here. Or rather take a stump pose, knees in your armpits for a moment. And then those of you that are on your back, take a moment to roll your whole body to your left side. So curl up on your left side in a fetal position. Stretch your left arm out so that you can see your left fingertips. If you're seated, you're going to go from that stump pose with your knees in your armpits. You're going to drop your knees to the right and then rotate your upper body to the right. If you're on your left side, as you inhale, stretch your right arm up like you're going to touch the ceiling or the sky, reach up, Still reaching as you exhale. That's it. Start to reach that right arm back behind you until the right shoulder comes to the mat, gazing up or to the right. So once you're in your twist, if you need a prop behind your back, or if you need a prop between your thighs, you can give yourself that prop, or a prop between your thighs and your shin. Give yourself that prop. And then let your body relax, release, rest, and breathe. We can see all those feelings that James Baldwin had about love in his work, but also how he felt about those other words I mentioned in a talk that he gave at New York City's Community Church called The Artist's Struggle for Integrity. He said, I really don't like words like artist or integrity or courage or nobility. I have kind of distrust of all those words because I don't really know what they mean any more than I really know what such words as democracy or peace-loving or warlike or integration mean. And yet one is compelled to recognize that all these imprecise words are attempts made by us all to get to something which is real and which lives behind the words. Whether I like it or not, for example, and no matter what I call myself, I suppose the only word for me when the chips are down is that I am an artist. There is such a thing. There is such a thing as integrity. Some people are noble. There is such a thing as courage. The terrible thing is that the reality behind these words depends ultimately on what the human being, meaning every single one of us, believes to be real. The terrible thing is that the reality behind all these words depends on choices one has got to make forever and ever and ever, every day. Listen, if you are in that seated position, left hand cups your knee. As you inhale, you're going to lift your right arm up and over. If you're on your back, as you inhale, you're going to stretch that right arm back up and then roll back to your left side. Once you're on your left side, exhale your knees down. They're still going to be bent, but you just want to lower your knees down under your hips so you can reach your right hand back to grab a hold of your left leg or left foot. So grab the leg on the bottom for cat pulling its tail. Once you have that bind, even if you use a strap there, as you exhale, bring your right knee up towards your left armpit just a little bit. And then inhale, stretch that right leg out in front of you so you can actually see that right leg. You can hold your head up here with your left arm, or you can let your head rest on your left arm. You can let that right leg rest on top of something, whether it's knee is bent or extended. And take a moment again to think about those words, like not just the words that I used at the beginning of the practice, but all the words that James Baldwin used. Artist, integrity, courage, nobility, democracy, peace, peace-loving, warlike, integration. What do those words mean to you? And not just the concept of them. Like, what do those words mean in your life? What are the choices that you make every day that makes the meaning real? If you're seated, as you exhale, you can release your lateral extension, turn your body back to center with the arms and your knees and your armpits. If you're on your side and that cat pulling its tail, you could exhale, bend your right knee, and then bring the right knee back to meet the left, and then release your bind. Shoulders down your back. You can roll over to your back, especially as a prenatal option. or you can roll to your belly for a moment and lift your heart up. And then if you're using props, the gesture props, you're going to roll over to your left side, or sorry, to your right side now. Curl up if you're on your side, or if you're seated, you're going to drop your knees over to the left, set up for that mermaid stag. Take a good twist, left hand behind your back, right hand cups your left knee. Everyone else, when you're on your right side, as you inhale, lift your left arm up. Reach it up like you're going to touch the ceiling, touch the sky. And then as you exhale, keep reaching as you reach that left arm back behind you. Left shoulder and elbow on the mat, gaze up or to the left. If you need to, you can adjust so that you have a prop behind your back or in between your legs for a moment. Let your body relax here. Let your body release here. Let your body rest here. And then breathe here. Every day of his life, James Baldwin made choices. As we all do, made choices. But he was very deliberate, very intentional in the choices that he made. And we could argue that he had no choice. We could argue that he had to make choices very intentionally, deliberately, because to do anything else might cost him his life. He wrote in The Fire Next Time, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. He wrote about the choices that people make in the essay Nothing Personal, which was originally published as part of a collaboration with his friend, the photographer Richard Avedon. He talked about how certain circumstances, for instance, if you fall in love with someone who lives in Hong Kong, maybe a place you've never been and never really thought much about, that all of a sudden, Hong Kong becomes a really prominent part of your life. Nothing Personal, James Baldwin wrote, the light that's in your eyes reminds me of the skies that shine above us every day. So wrote a contemporary lover, out of God knows what agony, what hope, and what despair. But he saw the light in the eyes, which is the only light there is in the world, and honored it and trusted it, and will always be able to find it, since it is always there waiting to be found. If you are in that mermaid stag, rotated the left, you're going to lift your left arm up, stretch it over with your right hand on your left knee. Everyone else, as you inhale, you're going to lift your left arm up. And exhale, bring it back over to the right side. Bend your knee with your knees bent. As you exhale, slide the knees down so you can reach back with your left hand and grab a hold of the right foot or the right leg. Use a strap as you like. Pull that heel into the hip. And then exhale, bring your left knee up towards your right armpit. You can keep the knee bent. You can even rest that thigh on top of something. Or as you inhale, stretch that left leg out in front of you, so you can actually see that leg. You can let your head rest on your right arm. You could bend your right elbow and hold your head up. In Nothing Personal, James Baldwin went on to write, one discovers the light in darkness. That is what darkness is for. But everything in our lives depends on how we bear the light. It is necessary while in darkness to know that there is a light somewhere, to know that in oneself, waiting to be found, there is a light. What the light reveals is danger, and what it demands is faith. And then he went on to say that what a journey this life is, dependent entirely on things unseen. Finally, he wrote, I have slept on rooftops and in basements and subways, have been cold and hungry all my life, have felt that no fire would ever warm me and no arms would ever hold me. I have been, as the song says, buked and scorned, and I know that I always will be. But my God, in that darkness, which was the lot of my ancestors in my own state, what a mighty fire burned. He went on to talk about a living soul moved and refused to die. He said, we really emptied oceans with a homemade spoon and tore down mountains with our hands. And if love was in Hong Kong, we learned to swim. As you exhale, bend your left knee, bring your left knee back on top of your right, and then release your bind. Either roll to your back, especially as a prenatal option, or you could roll to your belly if you prefer, if you're not pregnant. Everyone else, if you're in the seated position, come back to center with the knees and the armpits, give them a little squeeze. Prenatal variation is knees in the armpits, and then you hold there. Everyone, or you could go into a child's pose. Everyone else, when you're on your back, hug your knees into your chest. Just give yourself a bear hug. In Nothing Personal, James Baldwin wrote, it is a mighty heritage. It is a human heritage. It is in all there is to trust. And I learned this through descending, as it were, into the eyes of my father and my mother. I wondered when I was little how they bore it, for I knew that they had much to bear. It had not yet occurred to me that I also would have much to bear, but they knew it. And the unimaginable rigors of their journey helped them to prepare me for mine. This is why one must say yes to life and embrace it wherever it is found. And it is found in terrible places. Nevertheless, there it is. And if the father can say, yes, Lord, the child can learn that most difficult of words, amen. Next time you inhale, let your arms relax down. As you exhale, place your feet on the floor next to your seat. If you want to finish the practice in a pose other than Shavasana, do what you do. Everyone else, when you're on your back, as you inhale, stretch out one leg, doesn't matter which one. Exhale, let that leg relax. Inhale, stretch out the other leg. Exhale, let that leg relax. James Baldwin famously said, I love America more than any other country in this world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. He also said, love takes off masks that we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within. I use the word love here not merely in the personal sense, but as a state of being or a state of grace, not in the infantile American sense of being made happy, but in the tough and universal sense of quest and daring and growth. Love is a growing up. Feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. If you'd like to be guided out of your final pose, reawaken your body. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Deep open mouth sigh. Deep breath in through your nose. Deep sigh out. Gently rock your head side to side. Gently bring motion to your fingers and toes. Being mindful of the space around you, inhale your arms overhead and take a full body stretch. Reach through your fingers, reach through your toes. Walk your feet in towards your seat, extending through your low back. Prenatal variation is to roll to the left. Everyone else roll to the right. And just take a moment to be here. Take a moment to breathe here. Take a moment to notice how you feel here. And then when you're ready, use the strength of your arms to press up to a comfortable seated position. Eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. Hands together at heart center. Take a moment to rub your palms together, create a little heat, a little energy, a little awareness. And then bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. And soak up that heat, that energy, that awareness. You can take your hands to any other part of your being, any other part of your body that needs a little extra heat, needs a little extra energy. And then shake out your hands and we'll seal in the practice. Start off with one hand at your heart, one hand at your belly. And just take a moment to notice how you feel. Notice how your heart feels. Notice how even your belly feels. Consider if we were using a vinyasa practice, using that chakra system, that right now your lower hand is in that area that is associated with your sense of self, your personality, your self-esteem, who you are, how you believe people see you in the world. And the upper hand is at your heart. I've talked about how James Baldwin moved through the world, how he wrote about the world. Another place where you can see his devotion to love and life and humanity is in the words of his friends, people who actually knew him, people who were inspired by him, some of whom called him Jim or Jimmy. When he died in 1987, Maya Angelou, one of those people, wrote a tribute for the New York Times entitled James Baldwin, His Voice Remembered, Life in His Language. In addition to describing how Mr. Baldwin introduced her to his family as his mother's newest daughter, she explained that he, and I quote, opened the unusual door and encouraged her to tell her story. She wrote, well, the season was always Christmas with you there. And like one aspect of that scenario, you did not neglect to bring at least 3 gifts. You gave me a language to dwell in, a gift so perfect it seems my own invention. The second gift was your courage, which you let us share, the courage of one who would go as a stranger in the village and transform the distances between people into intimacy with the whole world. Courage to understand that experience in ways that made it a personal revelation for each of us. Yours was the courage to live life in and from its belly as well as beyond its edges, to see and to say what was, to recognize and identify evil, but never fear or stand in awe of it. The third gift was hard to fathom and even harder to accept. It was your tenderness, a tenderness so delicate that I thought it would not last, but last it did, and envelop me it did. In the midst of anger, it tapped me lightly like the child in Tish's womb. Yours was a tenderness of vulnerability that asked everything, expected everything, and like the world's own Merlin, provided us with the ways and means to deliver. I suppose that was why I was always a bit better behaved around you, smarter, more capable, wanting to be worth the love you lavished, and wanting to be steady enough to bear while it broke your heart, wanting to be generous enough to join your smile with one of my own, and reckless enough to jump on in that laugh you laughed, because our joy and our laughter were not only all right, they were necessary. Take a moment to shake out your hands again, change the cross of your arms, or bring one hand to your heart, or change the cross of your hands, one hand at your heart, one hand at your belly, or bring your hands back together at heart center. And take a moment to bring your awareness to your life, your love, your light, and honor it. As you inhale, lift your thumbs to your third eye, and as you exhale, bow forward. Namaste. Thank you all very much. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please let me know. Drink a lot of water. Have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week. And that's the practice. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your practice. Please like, subscribe, and when you comment with kindness, please leave me a 7-word comment. And I'll see you next time.